Looking for some new ways to make money in Medieval Dynasty? Then I've got you covered. In this video, I'm going to give you some tips on how to make money easily in Medieval Dynasty, starting from early game to end game, which should be useful regardless of whether you're a beginner or a veteran. The first tip I have for you is something you can do as soon as you spawn into the game, and that's to go fishing. Fishing is one of the early acts in the game that will generate 9.5 coins each roasted fish meat, which can be roasted in any campfire, your house stove, and in the kitchen. All you need to do is handcraft some wooden spears out of logs, or fishing spears if you have them. Go out into the water and search for schools of fish on the coastlines. Upon discovery of these schools, you'll get a little pop-up notification, and their locations will be permanently marked on your map tab in the wild animals filter. If you want to buy all these locations that you may have missed, talk to any fishermen, for example Binomir and Jezrika, and Searzir and Astoya. For a decent price, they will mark all the locations of these schools on your map. Let's talk about the fish specifically. Roach will only give you 1 fish meat per fish, so I often recommend skipping these schools if you see them. Perch, on the other hand, will give you 4 fish meat each, so you may consider hunting and roasting them, as you'll get around 38 coins per fish once cooked. But the main fish you should be looking out for are the pike, which will give you 7 fish meat, giving you around 67 coins per fish, making them much better targets for hunting. You'll often find these fish on their own or in schools, so one school can easily net you hundreds of coins. And if you decide to go around the map and hunt any pike you can find, you can generate thousands of coins per season just from roasting fish meat. One last thing about fish too, if you go to vendors around the map and see how much they sell fish for, you might notice that pike sells for 54 coins and perch sells for 31.5. So if you have the money, buy out any fish vendors, roast the fish, and sell the meat back. I'd still ignore the roaches though. Now, regardless of what map you're playing on, every season there's a chance for random abandoned camps or supplies to spawn in various fixed places on the map. And these locations can have some of the rarest items in the game, from meat and wine to bronze and iron tools. Just keep your eyes peeled while on the roads and exploring. And specifically for the Oxbow map, there are a handful of buildings where you're bound to find a myriad of loot, such as exotic goods, tools, clothing, and even the best helmet in the game, the Elite Helmet, just for free. If you want specifics on where to find the abandoned buildings, I show off most locations in the video linked at the top of the screen here. Definitely a great resource if you want to get the best start on the Oxbow. Next, hunting is one of the greatest ways to make money in the early and the mid game, as it'll be one of the best sources to farm meat, leather, and fur. Consider sticking to deer, pigs, and moose early on if you want to play it on the safe side, but you'll get a much greater reward hunting the larger animals in the game like the Vezant or the bear, although at a much greater risk. You'll also make it easier if you can procure a recurve bow or an iron crossbow, and buy or craft arrows or bolts. The higher quality the ammunition, the better, as it will make hunting trivial, allowing you to kill most animals in 1 to 2 shots, assuming you hit the head. Once you hunt and skin your animal, save the leather but roast all the meat you get, which will sell for 4 coins each, and sell it to any vendors you can find. It may not sound like a lot, but when you see how much meat drops from each animal, you'll see the value in it. Roasted meat also has good food value, so if your villagers are in need of food, roasted meat is a great place to start. Now, with all the leather you'll be getting from skinning, it really depends what point you are in the game. If you're just starting out, handcrafting simple bags will probably be the best way to turn that leather into coin, only costing you 1 leather per bag and generating you about 7 coins a piece. Once you unlock the sewing hut, there are much better uses for your leather, for example water skins, which sell for 16 coins each, over double the price of simple bags. But I often skip this step and go straight into crafting bags. Bags only cost you 2 leather and 1 linen and sell for about 90 coins each, which is a much better investment than simple bags and water skins. Once you reach the end game and unlock wool, I'd say keep making bags, but you can also start turning clothes to profit. Most clothes will net you a huge profit, but the most convenient clothing to make in the end game I'd say would be noble clothes and rich clothes, specifically the hoods, because none of the resources used for hoods are used for bags. The excellent clothing sells for a little bit better, but they also cost a little bit of linen, fur, and leather, so ultimately I prefer the noble and rich hoods. Bonus tip, the king has informed me that 79% of you haven't been paying your taxes, so don't forget to pay the king's tax of 1 like or 1 sub, as it really helps the channel out. Hopefully by the time you unlock the kitchen, you'll have already started cooking roasted meat and roasted fish meat, but with access to more recipes, there are a couple other things you can make. For example, my favorite, flatbread. Flatbread doesn't make you the most money in comparison to other food types, only selling for a measly 4.5 coins each. But due to how simple it is to make and how much farming, extraction, and production XP that flatbread gives you, it's hard not to recommend. If you want, you can also make flatbread with onions with the random onions you find or grow, since those will slightly give you a higher amount of tech points and coins. Once you don't really need the XP but have eggs coming in, consider upgrading from making flatbread to making white bread, which sells for over double the cost of flatbread. In the end game, you're eventually going to pick up goats or even cows and start generating milk, and that's when I would recommend making cheese, which will sell for a good 25 coins each. To make cheese, it only costs quark, which is made out of spoiled milk and a plain bucket of milk. And you may ask yourself, milk buckets already sold for 30 coins, so why not just sell the milk? Well, I'm glad you hypothetically asked, because making one piece of cheese only takes 1 stack out of the 10 stacks of milk in a bucket. That means 1 bucket of milk and 1 bucket of spoiled milk will make 10 cheese, and that's an easy 250 coins. Next, let's talk about tools really quick. Once you unlock the smithy and have the ability to make metal tools, most tools are going to make you money. So if you want to make axes or sickles instead, you won't have any problems. But efficiently speaking, knives are some of the easiest low resource cost items to make, but still making you roughly the same amount of money. And the same goes for shearing scissors. And the thing I like about shearing scissors is that it only costs metal, and they're a lot simpler to make considering most tools will cost you logs and sticks. It only takes a couple extra steps, but if you want to get the most bang for your buck in the smithy, iron arrows and bolts will make you 250 coins for a stack of 10. And they're a lot lighter, so it's easier to take into town and sell, only requiring some feathers and sticks in addition to the iron. Next we have the Tavern, which will be one of the last buildings you lock, and it has a lot of uses. Not just for the great enhancements many of the drinks provide, but they also sell for a ridiculous amount of money. Hopefully by the time you get to the Tavern, you'll have been growing your orchards for a while, and while you'll make a good profit regardless of the wines, plum and cherry are technically the best, with plum and cherry wine selling for 155 coins each bottle. Plum wine enhancements are a bit better too, so maybe worth keeping a few in case you want to deal some extra damage or go out mining. Another drink you can make is rye beer, which sells for 85 coins. It has a really nice use, especially if you play with carry weight on, as it'll give you an additional 30 kilograms of carry weight. Lastly, mead, which sells for 105 coins each bottle, will probably be the best item in the tavern if you're looking to mass produce, due to the fact that it really only takes honeycomb, water, and a mead bottle. Honeycomb is also very easy to produce once you unlock the apiary, which is another endgame building by the way. But if you stack apiaries and mass produce mead, you probably wouldn't need anything else on the list. It's that good. So let's talk about demand control. If you go into your management tab, the last tab on the right is called the People's Demand Control menu, which allows you to turn goods on and off so that villagers will not use and consume certain goods. In wood demand, turn off everything except firewood if you don't want your villagers to start burning your sticks, planks, and logs for firewood. In the food and drinks tab, I often like to turn off the more valuable foods, or the foods that I use for crafting, like milk, cheese, fish meat, fruits, juices, wine, mead, etc. Basically, just turn off all the good foods or the crafted foods in the list. If you're having trouble keeping your villagers fed, you can adjust your controls differently, but generally I might let my villagers eat a few types of crafted food like flatbread or scrambled eggs. Lastly, and possibly the most valuable tip on the list, when you level up your diplomacy skill, make sure to take barter and max it as soon as you can, because it is the best skill in the game if you're trying to make money, giving you better buying prices and selling prices by up to 30%. Once you have this skill maxed, you can make a profit just by buying raw materials and processing them into goods I've mentioned in this video, and you'll generate even more profit. Start by buying up flax, flax stalks, and leather to convert into bags in the sewing hut. Buy copper, tin, and iron ore to make tools like knives or shearing scissors. And buy all the wheat, rye, and oats, as well as the grains and flour, and start converting them into flatbread or white bread. Also, as a final mention, if you have any game questions or want to check it out, come visit the streams. I'm usually live Saturday and Sunday here on the channel. But until next time, thanks for watching, and take care.